Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be answering the question whether should you buy an iPhone 15 or 15 Plus or the last year's 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max. So let's begin. A lot of people on the internet have been wondering of shopping for the new iPhone 15 models or just getting last year's Pro model, the 14 Pro and Pro Max. Since these two models are very similar in terms of specs, but they're not that similar in terms of price as you may think. If you go online and look at iPhone 15 prices and then look at 14 Pro Max and Pro model prices, you're going to find out that the 14 Pro and Pro Max still cost more than the equivalent 15s. In fact, these cost the same as the 15 Pros and Pro Max. Which brings you to the question, should you get an iPhone 15, which is all brand new, or should you get the 14 Pro, which is, albeit last year's model, packs some nice features? The differences between the iPhone 15 and 15 Plus and the 14 and 14 Pro Max really are the materials used. So for the 14 Pros and Pro Max, we get stainless steel around the body, and as well as a third camera. The iPhone 15s this year got a matte glass back, which is very nice to see. But yeah, the 14 Pros and Pro Max use nicer materials if you're into that kind of thing. However, I think most people won't care because most people just slap on their case and you don't really feel the phone's materials anyway. However, the advantage with iPhone 15's aluminum is it's lighter. It's about 40 grams lighter than the 14 Pros and Pro Max, so there is advantage to aluminum. Of course, stainless steel is stronger. However, if you're going to slap on a case, doesn't really make a difference. In terms of the display, the only two different advantages we have to the 14 Pros are the 120Hz refresh rate and the always-on compatibility. Now, always-on display, I think on an iPhone is a useless feature. To me, anyways, I just turn it off and I don't use it. It's not something that I need it for. My phone's most of the time facing down or in my pocket, so it's just a waste of battery. But a nice feature to have is a 120Hz refresh rate. The 14 Pro Max and 14 Pro have ProMotion, so you get a nice and smooth 120Hz refresh rate, which is, again, to be honest, not that big of a deal because it's not really going to change the way you interact with your phone. However, once you use 120 Hz, you do feel the difference between 60 Hz and 120. Not a big of a deal, but it's just a nice feature to have. And it LTPO as well, so it's adaptive based on your scrolling. Now, in terms of the displays, that's it. The next big feature, of course, are the cameras. The iPhone 15 has 2 cameras. The 14 has 3 cameras. An extra telephoto lens, which for most people, to be honest, I think is not going to be useful. Myself, I rarely use the telephoto lens. I use the 2 outer lenses, the main camera and the ultra wide. I barely use the telephoto lens. But if you're a professional, if you like taking pictures and videos a lot, this might be a nice feature to have. Because other than that, that's it. They use both the 48 megapixel cameras. So really, in terms of camera wise, these 2 cameras are exactly the same. It's just you get an additional camera on the 14 Pros. And finally, last advantage of the iPhone 14 Pros is you get better battery life. The iPhone 15 Plus, for example, Apple states you'll get up to 26 hours. With the iPhone 14 Pro Max, Apple states you'll get up to 29 hours of battery life. And I can confirm from my use case, the iPhone 14 Pro Max is like amazing battery life. So 3 hours again, to be honest, I think the standard 15 models will also do absolutely fine for most people's use cases. But if you're someone who's conscious about battery life, the 14 Pro definitely has the advantage. Now, of course, this year Apple also introduced USB-C to the iPhones. So to some people, this might be beneficial. If you're someone who lives in the USB-C ecosystem, considering Apple's laptops and iPads use USB-C, this might be useful to you. But if you're someone like me who has a lot of lightning cables running around, it's also, why not? I mean, the iPhone 15 doesn't get any benefits with USB-C. That's unless we're talking about the 15 Pros, which is different. The 15s have the same USB 2.0, the same file transfer speeds up to 480 megabytes a second, the same 20-watt fast charging. It's the 15 Pros that really differentiate because they get USB 3.0 with 10 gigabit speeds of file transfer data and faster charging. But of course, to have that, you need to buy a USB 3.0 cable. Apple will sell you one for $70. So really, except convenience, you're not getting any advantages with the iPhone 15's USB-C port. It's not like it's going to charge faster or transfer data faster. It is the same. It all matters down to personal preference. Are you more convenient with Lightning or USB-C? And other than that, these are the differences with the 14 Pros and the 15s. As I said, price-wise, if you're going to try to buy a brand new 14 Pro and Pro Max, they're going to set you around £1,000 plus, depending on the size and storage, which already is a big difference compared to the 15, which starts at £800. So this is in the price territory of an iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max, which is why the 14 Pro, it's a tough sell. After all, you are getting a newer phone, albeit even hardware-wise on the inside, they have exactly the same chip. Yes, you lose some of these benefits I mentioned, but £200, unless you're looking into buying the 15 Pro and Pro Max, I wouldn't spend my money on the 14 Pro. That is only if you could find these at a good deal. Of course, time will tell. Maybe give it a couple of months. The 15 Pros and 15s and the 14 Pros will reduce in price. But as of right now, these are very expensive. And in terms of value for money, you're way better off with a 15 or even a 15 Pro. Of course, you can buy these second-hand or refurbished. They will cost around the same, £800 as like an iPhone 15 with 128 gigabytes on storage. But I don't think many people would want to buy a second-hand phone. Many people prefer to buy it brand new, which in this case I would say get yourself the 15. The 14 Pro Max is just a bit overpriced right now. Maybe time will tell. Prices will lower, then it's going to be a different story. But if you're in the shopping right now, heck, you can get a 15 Pro for the same price as a 14 Pro. So I think it's a no-brainer decision here. Get the 15s. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you again in the next video.